Today we'll be discussing the recent Ethiopian plane crash that left over 150 people dead, including the pilot and the airline crew.
Followed by the ongoing drama over the singer R. Kelly and his legal troubles.
And finally, we're bringing you the latest CSUF and local news. All this and more on today's episode of The Report.
Hello and welcome to The Report, Cal State Fullerton's premier source for news, views, and info. I'm Ryan Matthey.
I'm Leslie Duarte.
And I'm Ashling Insulin.
Before we get started with our first hot topic, we'd like to invite you to be a part of the discussion this semester. Click on the link in the caption of any of our report episodes to fill out a secure Google form with your opinion on any controversial issue that we've talked about now or in the past, as many of these issues are reoccurring and evolving. We also now have an official Twitter account at The Report CSUF, so expect polls, questions, and news updates.
On Sunday, Ethiopian airline flight 302 crashed shortly after taking off, killing all 157 passengers. We here at The Report offer our deepest condolences to all those affected by the crash. 35 countries were affected by the crash, with travelers from Kenya, Canada, China, Italy, and the U.S. The aircraft included a professor from Kenya, humanitarians from Ethiopia, and a career ambassador from Nigeria. 21 staff members from the United Nations were also among the dead. Here's CNN correspondent David Daniels with more on the story.
Today is a very sad and tragic day for all of us.
An Ethiopian Airlines flight crashed shortly after takeoff on Sunday, killing all 157 people on board. World leaders reacted as the death toll reached 35 different countries, with 8 Americans among the dead.
We are deeply saddened again, and we express our deepest sympathies and condolences.
Ethiopian Airlines flight ET-302 took off from the capital city of Addis Ababa just before 8:40 Sunday morning, bound for Nairobi, Kenya, with 149 passengers and 8 crew members on board. It lost contact with air traffic control and went down just 6 minutes after takeoff. The plane, a Boeing 737 MAX, was purchased by the airline in November of 2018. The CEO of Ethiopian Airlines said it passed all routine maintenance checks and that the pilot had an excellent flying record with more than 8,000 hours of experience.
It is a brand new airplane with no technical remarks, flown by senior pilots.
Investigators haven't pinpointed what caused the aircraft to go down, but say the pilot reported technical difficulties and had been given clearance to return to the airport. The NTSB is sending a 4-member team to the site to assist in the investigation. I'm David Daniel reporting.
Over the last few months, there have been over 200 cases of measles reported. Some legislators on Capitol Hill are attempting to address this public health threat, while others are introducing bills making opting out of vaccinations easier. 20 states have introduced proposals that can broaden the reasons why parents can exempt kids from getting vaccines, even if there isn't a medical need, and require doctors to provide more information on the risks of vaccines. Arizona Senator Paul Boyer supports 3 of the bills introduced after parents said their children were hurt by vaccinations. Do you guys think that vaccinations should be quote-unquote optional?
No, I don't. There are diseases that are coming back that were eradicated decades ago. Last semester we talked about a polio-like symptom that was coming around, and it was related to people not vaccinating their kids. What are we doing? I understand that parents can question their doctors, can question about the vaccines. What kind of medication are you giving my child? Go ahead and question, but when 90% and more, I don't want to say like 99%, but when 90% and more of the medicine industry agrees that vaccinating kids does not cause autism, then I think we should, rely on the experts here,
The experts, being CDC, they say that the MMR vaccine, which is protecting children against measles, mumps, varicella, and rubella, it's very safe, and it's about 97% effective in preventing measles, right? And then on top of that, the measles vaccination program started way back in 1963, which at that time there were reported 3 to 4 million cases of measles in the United States, and we've had a 99% reduction in the measles cases, and this is all coming from the CDC. And so the facts are right there. We're speaking from history. There were millions of cases of it, and now there's a very small amount. So I'm assuming this is coming from people vaccinating their children. So I don't understand why we're making it an optional option if it's to protect everybody.
Right. And I going off of what you're saying, protecting everybody, it doesn't process in my head correctly how somebody could be like, I'm going to exempt my child from getting a vaccination and put everybody around them in danger. Whether they have vaccinations or not, if you catch something, even if you are vaccinated, there is a chance that you can still catch what you were vaccinated with if somebody around you does catch that. So
they're not just protecting, the vaccines itself are not just protecting the children, it's protecting those people that the children are coming in contact with. So that's going to be their family members, that's going to be their school friends, that's going to be the people they go to work with. It's going to be everybody. So more important than just making sure that this one child's okay, it's making sure everybody's okay.
Yeah. And the argument that anti-vaccine debate brings up is that the numbers and the studies done by these researchers and these scientists are all biased, and that they make a lot of money off the corporations. That's just presenting their argument to the table. They also say that the numbers are skewed, that it is way more people that are affected with symptoms of these vaccines than what the numbers and these studies show. Like I said, I think it is, for me personally, I don't take a Tylenol when I have a headache. I like alternative methods. I like taking teas, naps, ice packs, all this stuff. So I can understand why you don't want to put medicine into your body. But like you said, this is for the better good of society. The way vaccines work is that if 95% of the population are vaccinated, that disease, whatever it may be, has less availability to spread amongst people and amongst society. So we're trying to protect. But what really, really shocked me to find this was that in India, there's a viral video or a viral post going around scaring a lot of people, a lot of parents from vaccinating their kids. And I mean, these are impoverished countries. India's doing really well recently, but in many places of India, there is a lot of poverty. And if these parents are deciding not to vaccinate their kids, they're at higher risk in those places than here in America, let's say. Right. So it's really concerning that this Facebook post is spreading, and more and more people are deciding to ignore medical advice.
I think a lot of people in our generation are very aware of the need to be vaccinated. I don't know if you guys saw the story of the kid who turned 18 and went to legislation and told everybody, my mother did not vaccinate me, I'm getting vaccinated now. That was a story that came out last week or a few weeks ago, and I was so shocked because people our age understand the importance. It's a lot of the older generations who are kind of putting down the idea of vaccinations for the, we don't want to put that in our body kind of thing. So power to them.
And then we'll make sure to keep you guys updated on further measles outbreaks and their hopeful immunizations of it. Well, now moving on to some more local news. The Santa Anita Park in Arcadia, California is home to prominent horse racing events. However, over the last 10 weeks, 21 horses have died, causing the racetrack to cancel future events indefinitely. Officials are examining the dirt surfaces since most of the deaths have occurred while the horses were running on the track. Horse Racing Hall of Famer Ron McAnally suggested that the heavy rain's effect on the track are to be blamed.
The Wildlife World Zoo in Arizona made headlines over the weekend when a woman was attacked by a jaguar. She was taking a selfie near the fence of the jaguar enclosure when the animal reached out and attacked her. The injuries were not life-threatening, and the woman has since apologized to the zoo and said her actions were foolish. However, this is not the first time the zoo guest has been injured at the jaguar exhibit. Our special correspondent Jamie Warren has more on the story.
This is cell phone video taken by Jeff Allen about 10 months ago at the Jaguar exhibit at the Wildlife World Zoo.
Oh, look at it! Well, that's not good. That's bad. You might need stitches.
I never climbed over a barrier. I never stepped over the barrier. I was behind the barrier and just reached my arm out.
Allen says he got 8 stitches and even got an attorney hoping the zoo would add more protection between visitors and the animals. But he says the case never went to court.
I didn't even want money. All my wife and I wanted was this barrier, a kid could cross over this barrier.
This is what the barrier looks like. It's about 3 feet tall, about 4 feet from the fence, and in between, a lot of thorny bushes.
Really bad pain.
911 calls detailing the most recent injury after zoo officials say a woman crossed the barrier and was clawed by that same jaguar while trying to take a selfie with it.
We know that she crossed the barrier, but we are looking into how that was done.
Christy Morecambe with the zoo says all barriers like this one meet federal guidelines. However,
we are taking in consideration all aspects of safety pertaining to this exhibit as well as throughout the entire park, because that is our biggest concern.
That jaguar now taken out of the exhibit as they investigate. But officials emphasize it will not be euthanized because they say it wasn't the animal's fault.
People need to respect the barriers and understand that they are put in place for the safety of everyone.
Jamie Warren, ABC 15, Arizona.
This video is shocking to see to what extent this lady went to get a picture. And look at the damage on her hand. We apologize, some of those images may be graphic, but what was she thinking? What was she doing?
That's a great question. I don't know what she was thinking. There is purposely that concrete barrier right there to prevent people from going closer to that cage, because that is like a wild animal. That's something that will attack you. It's going to think you're prey. Another report said how animals in captivity, when you get closer to their exhibit, they start getting anxiety and then they feel the need to pounce or to attack because they feel like you're a threat.
Okay.
And I don't understand.
But to her defense, that wasn't like a second barrier. That was a little, about 3 feet tall thing of plants with some little bushes on it. That wasn't a full barrier. According to the zookeepers, they met all the regulations for, keeping the animal encaged. But that wasn't, to her defense, I mean, why are you going up taking a picture that close to the animal? But that wasn't really something she jumped over.
If she was like a giant, maybe it would be like a step for her, but that was like, it's still significantly tall enough to prevent them from going forward.
She is a grown adult. Yes. You see the barrier, you see the plants. If it was a child, okay, I can see. But at the same time, you are at a zoo. But if it was a child, I would say, where are your parents and why are you left unsupervised? She is an adult and knew exactly what she was doing. Exactly. I do not feel bad for this woman at all. I understand where you're coming from with the barrier. We see it. But like I said, she's an adult. She should know better.
Yeah, but as you said, if it was a child and you're at the zoo, your child climbs over that thing, I mean, that's really not a barrier. But again, it's not the jaguar's fault.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I hope that jaguar's okay.
Yes.
I do too. I would be traumatized.
I mean, you try being in a cage for your whole life, having pictures, having people take pictures of you with flash, loud noises. These plants aren't even real. What's up with this speaker in front of me? Like, you're going to be frustrated.
Right. And there were some people who talked about why the jaguar wasn't put down, and why? What is that even an argument for?
What did the jaguar do?
There's no need. The jaguar is in its alleged natural habitat, as it's supposed to be in a zoo. Why do we have zoos? We know that they're in this enclosed area. They're gonna act naturally. Like you said, people taking pictures and loud noises. When people get close to them, they automatically see it as a threat. This woman went out of her way as an adult to go over the barrier, take a picture, and there was a wild animal behind her.
I think this event is just adding on to like the flurry of different instances of people going to zoos, getting too close to these animals, and then being injured by them. We have Harambe, rest in peace. We have all the animals at SeaWorld. We have Tillicum, who was acting out and starting to attack people going towards their exhibit. Should zoos even be a thing? Should we have animals in captivity if we know that they're going to act unpredictably?
I mean, hello, they're wild animals. Unless they're caged, unless they're in danger or, cannot protect themselves, cannot defend themselves, whether it's a limb is missing or something, whatever, they should be free out in the wild. And I want to bring out that, before we move on, that according to Born Free USA, attacks on animals are actually pretty rare. From 1990 to now, only 216 humans have been injured or have fallen into enclosures, and only 35 others killed, most of them zoo workers. So, I mean, why are we punishing these animals? You know, these animals should be free and wild, and unless they're in need of medical assistance, why are they engaged in these places? It's really cruel what we're doing to them.
Absolutely.
I do agree. And like I said, I still will not understand. She is an adult, so we'll never know why she did that. And moving on to other news, singer R. Kelly sat down with Gayle King for his first interview since being indicted with 10 counts of sexual abuse. During the interview, the singer yelled, cried, and at one point jumped out of his seat. He denied the allegations of sexually abusing minors and claims that he is being buried alive. Kelly was later detained in Chicago for failing to pay child support. He was released after the $160,000 in child support was paid.
Friday was International Women's Day, as well as the premiere of the highly anticipated film Captain Marvel. The blockbuster marks the first time Marvel has put a female superhero at the center of the film. Captain Marvel became the second highest grossing superhero movie after Infinity War, debuting with $455 million worldwide. Although it was a special day for women, males made up 55% of the audience. I don't know if you guys saw this movie. I did see it. I loved it. I'm not even big on superhero movies, but I love Brie Larson, so I went to go see it for her, and it was a fantastic movie. I understand the hype behind it.
Tell me everything.
I'm not going to tell you everything about it. You should go see it yourself. It's so good, but it's so weird that like this is even making news. How it's like, should we have women being protagonists in these superhero movies? Is that even a question we need to ask?
I mean, honestly, I didn't really understand where the controversy came from this, because it's a superhero. What does it matter if it's a male or a female? I think now people are trying to be more inclusive of females, but I mean, why are we making a big deal? Like, women, can and cannot like superhero movies. Men so happen to be attending this more. It was a great film. Let's move on. It was a great film. She did a great job, I'm sure. I haven't seen it based off what you said. And let's just embrace both Infinity Wars and that this is the highest ranking movie since then.
I like when you made the point that you said we are trying to be more inclusive of women in this now era, but I think that people are so protective over it because superheroes have always been such a male-dominated kind of thing. So I think that it's still kind of new for them to be so inclusive of women, and I think that's why it's kind of controversial. I do agree, women, all the power there, let's do it, let's run it. But I do see why it is kind of controversial. People are being protective of the male image of heroes and superheroes and things like that. But I'm so proud that she was the protagonist of this movie and that it is doing so well.
Well, I think the controversy was over also that it was a female superhero, but most of the audience was male. And it's like, well, why aren't women coming out to watch it? What do you guys think? What are your thoughts on why women aren't going out to see this movie?
Well, I mean, they are going out to see it. Like, it's just that the audience who have gone so far have been mostly male compared to women. And I just think it's not necessarily that we should be focusing on. It's more that we want films, we want storylines that are different from what we already have. So, like you said, superhero movies have been male for as long as we can remember. We can even go back just a few years with Black Panther, that was the first film to include a primarily black cast and have a black protagonist, and that so much money, literally $1.3 trillion worldwide so far. That's insane. And so obviously we need some more, being more inclusive in these types of genres. However, the audience are speaking for itself, the money's speaking for itself. We want storylines and we want casts and we want just movies that are different from what we already have.
Yeah, and I'm not a superhero fanatic. I can't really tell you between DC and Marvel or anything, but after Infinity Wars, I got hooked. I'm going to watch Captain Marvel because I want to find out what happens. How do they get back the ring? How do they get off? How do they kill Thanos? What happens next? So, I mean, if you make good movies, people will follow. You know what I'm saying?
I'm on the same boat as you. I'm not really a superhero person, nor, honestly, I'm not really a movie person. I'm like a Netflix show kind of person. I get really attached to my characters. But I also like watching movies in the comfort of my home, so I'm not the type of person to go out of my way to go to a movie theater and do the whole movie theater experience. One of my roommates and my best friend, she is a film major, and she is so obsessed with all this stuff, and she went to go see it the night it came out with her family, and she loves Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Obsessed. They're on my house. They're in my house on repeat. Like, it's ridiculous. But this is something that was a really big deal for her because of a woman superhero, woman protagonist, things like that. But she also just loved the movie as a whole.
Exactly. I'm not a, moviegoer myself. I like to stay at home with my pets, chill with my dogs, chill with my cats, watch a nice movie. Everything's good. And as dog owners, we all know that it is very important for walking our pups. It keeps their pets happy, and it improves the owner's fitness. For older adults, however, going on a walk with your pet could result in a trip to the ER. A nationwide study conducted from 2004 to 2017 found that over 30,000 ER visits among dog owners were aged 65 and older. There are many reasons behind the injuries, one being that, older people have less bone mass. 79% of the patients were women, making osteoporosis a very possible cause.
For this week's Women's History Month story, we're discussing Christina Aguilera and the work she's done with Verizon Wireless. In 2015, the singer partnered with the phone company to create a domestic violence prevention campaign called Hopeline. Verizon Wireless customers can connect to the National Domestic Violence Hotline by simply dialing HOPE. This feature helps victims as well as organizations help support the fight in domestic violence.
Well, on that note, that's all the time we have here at The Report today. Stay tuned for more news, views, and info. Have a great week, everyone. I'm Ryan Matthew.
I'm Leslie Duarte.
And I'm Ashley Antolin. Stay fresh, Fullerton.